Netflix's Squid Game The Challenge hasn't had me feeling this much anxiety since I was chosen last in every middle school game. Seriously, I was a fat kid and it was not fun. Yes, Netflix has come out with its own multi-million-dollar reality show which Mr. Beast did his own version of 2 years ago. So I thought it would be fun to take a look at the differences between all three, the show, the challenge, and Mr. Beast. Everything from the prize money, the game's rules, and whether or not any hanky-panky goes on in the washroom. Well, that didn't happen, but players were apparently booted from the show for hooking up. So grab some calamari and lick that like and subscribe button. Capitalism has never looked so good. The games found in the show are actually the 33rd iteration, something Hwang Jun-ho discovers while infiltrating the island. For the challenge and Mr. Beast, of course, this is the first. Production of the challenge took 16 days to film, Mr. Beast 10, and if we go by the sleep cycles found in the show version, we're looking at about 6 to 7 days on the island. Other than the fact players in the real Squid Game actually die, and I died a little inside watching some of this, there are dozens of differences between all these versions. First and foremost, the prize pool. In the show, the prize is 45.6 billion won, or roughly 34.8 million US dollars. That's about $76,000 per person when eliminated. Admittedly, this is much higher than the Netflix and Mr. Beast versions, but then again, people aren't actually dying in those. The Netflix version has a prize pool of 45.6 million US, or 10,000 per person eliminated, and Mr. Beast, a grand total of $456,000 or 1,000 per person eliminated. One thing neither the Mr. Beast or show version have are these player processing rooms. They're almost necessary in reality TV in order to get to know the contestants. In the show, this is done primarily through dialogue and plot, while the Mr. Beast version is more focused on the game due to its shortened length. Squid Game Challenge is the lengthiest of the versions, clocking in at roughly 9 hours of gameplay throughout the 10 episodes. And while the show has 9 episodes, not all of them take place within the game. There's a lot of setup and plot that takes place outside of them. Finally, Mr. Beast clocks in at roughly 26 minutes. Less time also means a leaner budget. Now, Mr. Beast is no stranger to elaborate multi-million-dollar videos. In fact, he claims his 26-minute long video cost roughly $3.5 million. In contrast is the challenge, where each episode is estimated at being about $1 million a piece, times 10 episodes, and add the 4.56 million prize pool, and we're looking at a budget at around 15 million. Now, the actual production budget of Squid Game the show was estimated to be $21 to $22 million, but we need to compare the actual games within them. Like, imagine if Squid Game from the show actually happened in real life. No doubt that its budget would be in the hundreds of millions. Not only is the prize pool alone over $30 million, but remember the games take place on a secluded island where this multi-million-dollar facility would have to be built, hidden, and maintained, making its theoretical price astronomical. Obviously, with Squid Game the show taking place in Korea, you're going to have a predominantly Korean cast. The challenge has contestants from all over the world of varying ages, and some of the contestants actually know each other, such as Trey and Leanne, who are mother and son. Mr. Beast has mainly contestants from the US and skew much younger, which makes sense considering that's his demographic. All three versions start with the iconic red light green light game, and while this is absolutely horrific in the show version with countless contestants losing their lives, the challenge and Beast versions are significantly less bloody, with contestants being rigged with squibs that give off black ink, just like a squid. Although the Mr. Beast version looks pretty gross.
That is disgusting.
Now, the show and challenge are pretty hands-off with the contestants as they do their games, but Mr. Beast gets right up in there with his friends and will interview contestants while they compete. This is why in his version, contestants have a whopping 30 minutes to cross the finish line, while both the challenge and show version are given only 5. At the end of the first game, 201 remain in the show, 197 in the challenge, and 232 in Mr. Beast. As the game progresses, we can really see some differences in budget with the sets. Just take a look at the size difference in the main living quarters between the show and challenge versus Mr. Beast. This is partly due to the fact that contestants contestants in Mr. Beast version don't actually live there. In the challenge, we'll see a bunch more sets, including the kitchen, worker dorms, control room, and bathrooms. Then there's the iconic money ball, which fills with cash each time a player is eliminated. In the show and challenge, it descends from the ceiling while Mr. Beast just kind of lays there on the ground. Perhaps the biggest difference the challenge has between the other two versions is the addition of tests. These are a series of mini challenges that an individual or small groups of contestants take part in that can either get them eliminated, eliminate others, or give them an advantage. I found most of these tests pretty interesting, but the thing I hated the most were the amount of frivolous eliminations that were based solely on luck. I'm talking about like a dozen contestants eliminated through no fault of their own. Like this guy who opens a jack-in-the-box that just says he's eliminated, or this dude who is randomly ousted because someone chooses him to go. After the first game, contestants in the show are given the opportunity to leave the game, should a majority of contestants choose to do so. This makes sense in the show considering contestants now know that their actual lives are at stake, so not including this in the challenge or Mr. Beast version makes sense. Like the show, the challenge has players doing chores and being fed these shitty meals out of small tin cans. Making contestants hungry makes the special meal rewards all the more valuable. There's even this chaotic scene where a dude wins burgers and fries and the entire dormitory swarms in and takes his meal.
Oh my
No way, that girl got a full burger.
As contestants march to their second game of Honeycombs, both the show and challenge have them walking through this MC Escher inspired staircase, which is not found in Mr. Beast's version. They're led to this white waiting room, which is not found in the Mr. Beast version, and here we begin determining who gets which shape to cut out in the Honeycomb challenge. In the show, contestants first choose a shape, only to find out later what the objective is. Mr. Beast is totally random as contestants line up and then find out what shape they're going to get, while the challenge has the coolest method yet. 4 contestants, each representing a group of players, must all agree on which shapes their group will do. If they can't agree, all 4 of them are eliminated. This means someone will get the short end of the stick and have to do the most difficult shape, the umbrella. And it wouldn't be a Mr. Beast video if he didn't meddle in the games. One of his friends even drops a lighter so that it can be used to heat the needle to make it easier to carve out the shape. At the end of the second game, 108 contestants remain in the show, 142 in Mr. Beast, and 119 in the challenge. Squid Game also has some iconic classical music, including the Haydn trumpet concerto. I only know this because I play classical trumpet. In keeping with the show, the challenge includes this as well. Perhaps the biggest departure from the show is the challenge's third game, which traditionally would have been Tug of War. Both the show and Mr. Beast continue with this, but the challenge shakes things up completely with the addition of battleships. I personally like this change because it eliminates all the strong contestants from getting together and completely destroying weaker teams in Tug of War. It just makes it fair.
Say we gotta make it fair, we're all gonna die.
In the show version, contestants plummet to their deaths, while in Mr. Beast they unfortunately fall into a foam pit. And by the end of Game 3, 40 contestants remain in the show, 60 in Mr. Beast, and 73 in the challenge. All 3 versions incorporate some form of dakji, the paper flipping game the salesman used to recruit potential contestants. In Mr. Beast's version, this becomes an actual game in which players who are the quickest at flipping over a paper move on to the next round. We only get one brief nod to this game in the challenge, when 2 contestants play it during one of those mini tests. The 4th game in all 3 versions is Marbles, and this plays out almost identically in all 3, with contestants having to agree upon a game of marbles and one of the 2 end up eliminated. After Marbles, 17 contestants remain in the show, 30 in Mr. Beast, and 31 in the challenge. Obviously, 30 plus people going into the Glass Stepping Stone challenge is too much, so Mr. Beast and the challenge versions thin out the contestant pool by implementing games like dakji and more elimination tests. Choosing the order of the Stepping Stone challenge is pretty similar in the show and in Mr. Beast. Although players familiar with the show in the Mr. Beast version have the numbers changed to Korean so they can't tell which numbers are which. The challenge does things completely different by having players pick a teddy bear out of a crane game. These bears contain a turn order which the contestant has to give to another player. So if you get a low number, meaning you go first, something you don't want, you can give that number to a player you don't like. I gotta say the challenge did an absolutely beautiful job at recreating this set. They've shot it in such a way where you can't see any safety measures should someone fall through the glass. glass. In the show, these glass platforms physically shatter as contestants step on them, but obviously that would be too much of a hazard for contestants who aren't supposed to die, so Mr. Beast and the challenge implement these trap doors instead. The challenge goes one step further by making these trap doors see-through, which I liked better than Mr. Beast's design. Additionally, you can see contestants in Mr. Beast fall into foam pits while the challenge maintains the illusion that they're falling into oblivion. Now, the show has 18 platforms players must traverse, the challenge 17, and Mr. Beast 18. Although the Beast version only gives contestants 15 minutes to cross, the show 16, and the challenge 30. The glass game ends quite dramatically in both the show and Beast version, with players struggling to make it to the end before the time runs out. The challenge is far more laid back, with contestants having plenty of time to make it across. And as the contestants start to thin out, just as in the show, the challenge removes most of the beds, making the dormitory about as empty as my ex-girlfriend's heart. When all is said and done, 3 remain in the show, 6 in Mr. Beast, and 12 in the challenge. At this point in the show and Mr. Beast version, it's time to go to the final game, but the challenge had to add an additional game to eliminate even more contestants. Enter the Circle of Trust, a game where players are blindfolded and have to put these little presents in front of the person they want to eliminate, but if the other person guesses who put it there, they are saved and the other is eliminated. The boxes are even colored black and pink like the coffins found in the show. Mr. Beast even makes his own coffins in his version. By the end of this game, we're down to 3 final contestants. The same black and pink motif are used in the boxes for their dinner attire. Now, the dinner segment in the show and challenge are quite similar, with this fancy feast, complete with steak dinner.
This is the fattest piece of steak I've ever seen in my life.
Mr. Beast's version has this as well, just not quite as elegant. Of course, there isn't a brutal stabbing in the challenge or Mr. Beast, but the challenge has a final elimination before 2 players advance to the final round. This is a completely luck-based game in which contestants must press a button. If it's green, you get to choose who joins you in the final, gray, nothing happens, and red, you are eliminated. And now we come to the final game. 2 contestants remain in the show, 2 in the challenge, and 6 in Mr. Beast. Of course, the show's final game is Squid Game itself, a Korean children's game we see play out in the show. Mr. Beast decides to forego this since no one in North America really knows how this game is played. Instead, they play musical chairs. Admittedly, not the most thrilling final game, but neither is Rock, Paper, Scissors, the last game in the challenge. If you win a round, you get a key that may or may not open the safe to all the money. When all is said and done, player 456 wins on the show, 79 in Mr. Beast, and 287 in the show. Both the winners of the show and challenge are given this gold debit card with all the money on it, while Mr. Beast has this dude sledgehammering the money, making for an absolutely terrible cleanup. The challenge also includes a brief wrap-up of what some of the contestants are up to after the game. This doesn't happen in the show because they're all dead. One thing the challenge and Beast version don't have are the inclusion of the VIPs or a mole. While I can see why these weren't included, I think incorporating them into future seasons, which by the way the challenge has just been renewed for season 2, would add a whole new element to the game and really spice things up. But now I turn it over to you. What do you think was the best Squid Game, and are you looking forward to season 2 of the challenge? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, be sure to like and subscribe, and for more bad takes you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember, Daddy loves you very much.